Welcome to the Bluenose, and here we have a video of 7 Scottish teams you should manage in Football Manager 2021. The teams that I've chosen could be interesting to play as, and this video might be helpful for someone who's looking to start a new Football Manager 2021 career mode. Here we have some Scottish teams which I think would be a good career mode. Some of these would be very challenging, and some of them would require you to download a database which has the lower leagues in Scotland. The link to it will be in the description below. But anyway, let's get started with the first team on this list. That is Brecon City Football Club. As you can see for this image, Brecon are not a very good football team right now. They finished 10th in League 2 last season, and they currently sit 10th in this season. They are undoubtedly the worst team in the SPFL right now, as they have suffered back-to-back relegation from the Championship all the way to League 2. And League 2 has not been easy for them either, as they have since struggled and only avoided relegation last season due to the season being called off. So I guarantee you that if they'd completed this season, they would have finished 10th in the relegation playoff. I'm 100% sure they would have lost that, as the teams in the Highland and Lowland leagues are a lot more ambitious than Brecon. They have more money, in some cases even draw more crowds than them. So the future is not looking good for this football club, who are in real danger of dropping out the SPFL. So maybe you can be the man to save this club, maybe establish himself as a decent League 2 team for the first few seasons before challenging promotion to League 1, as the finances would be very limited. Maybe you can get Brecon City back up to the Championship and actually put up a decent fight and not get 4 points all season. But I think this one will definitely be one of the more challenging career modes on this list. So if you want like a long-term career mode to do, then Brecon City is definitely one you should consider. So next up on this list is Queen's Park Football Club. Now Queen's Park historically are actually one of the most successful clubs in Scottish football. I believe they've won about 10 Scottish Cups, but pretty much all those wins came in the 1800s. They have been historically an amateur club, as that was their thing. They were only playing football because they enjoyed playing it, they didn't care about money. But they've recently turned professional due to risk of them dropping out of the SPFL and into the Lowland League, which would not be good for them. But they have recently sold Hampden Park to the SFA, and I believe they got around 5 million for that, so that is a lot of money for League 2 level. And they have been spending some of that money, and they currently sit top of League 2. They have quite a few decent players like Simon Murray. They will be moving out of Hampden Park soon as well. I think they're going to Lesser Hampden, which holds a lot less people obviously. But I feel like Queen's Park would be a lot easier to do than Brecon City for those who don't want much as a challenge. You'll have a lot of money, you'll have a really good team that's definitely capable of getting promotion to the Championship in a few seasons. And after that you can just challenge to get promotion up to the Premiership. Maybe one day you can actually win the Premiership. Another thing that's interesting about Queen's Park is their away kit, if you can see it there. It's a very interesting away kit, but I do think Queen's Park would be an entertaining save to do, as they've not been in the Premiership for so long. And looking at the trophies they won, they definitely are big enough to play in the Premiership. And the next club on this list is Partick Thistle. Now this is our first League 1 club, and it really is an interesting story of what happened to them last season. They were relegated to League 1, and that was because the 1920 season was ended early due to COVID. And the relegation was a very controversial one, as they actually had a game in hand of the team above them, which was Queen of the South, so they were relegated in points per game. And if you look at their league history here, they actually have failed quite a bit, from finishing 6th in the Premiership to getting relegated for the playoffs, and then they've since been relegated all the way to League 1. So in terms of getting out of League 1, I don't think it'll be too difficult, as they do have a good squad. They probably have one of the best squads in the division, but it's just about getting back up to the Premiership and challenging from there. So the next club on the list is another team that was relegated due to COVID, and that is Heart of Midlothian. It's a similar story to Partick Thistle, as Hearts were relegated from the Premiership on points per game. Obviously a lot of people were not happy about that, as Anne Budge was trying to get a league reconstruction, but the talks fell through, and they tried to take the SPFL to court, but that failed as well, so they were relegated to the Championship. And it's looking like they don't want to be there for long, and they have spent quite a lot of money in the Championship. They still have quite a lot of good players that are definitely good enough to play at a higher level. So this would be an interesting Football Manager save, as can you get them back up to the Premiership in the first try? Well, it really should, considering the squad they have. It's much better than every other team in the Championship. But it's about challenging back up the top with Scottish football, challenging for Europe, challenging with rivals Hibs. I think it would be a good save to do. And the next club on this list is Dundee United. So this is our first Premiership team in this and our only Premiership team as well. And they were promoted as champions from the Championship following the 1920 season being ended early. And Dundee United have actually been in the Championship for quite a long time, as they're in the Championship for 4 years, which for a club of the size of Dundee United is criminal. So Dundee United were actually quite a successful club in the 1980s under Jim McLean, as they got their hands on the Premiership trophy back in 1983 and actually were UEFA Cup runners up back in 1987. So I think this would be an interesting save as more of a return to glory. But they have just been promoted from the Championship. Maybe in the first season you can actually just qualify for Europe straight away, as they do have a few decent players like Shankland. But I do think Dundee United is a good team to manage for people that want to start at a high level. And the last two clubs we have on this list are just two non-league clubs that I've just combined into one image. We have Gretna 2008 and Clyde Bank. Gretna 2008 were formed following the liquidation of their old club Gretna FC, who last played in the Scottish Premier League in 2008. They actually went through quite a rise, as they did have quite a rich owner, but the owner unfortunately fell ill and was forced to sell the club, I believe, and that just left them in a financial mess. So they were liquidated following financial issues, and their supporters formed a new club which currently play in the Lowland League, which is the 5th tier of Scottish football. So I think that would be an interesting save to do, to try getting them back into the SPFL, and it will be very difficult, as you all have to win the relegation playoff, which is not easy. And as for Clyde Bank FC, this is another interesting one. Clyde Bank were bought out by Airdrie United, which is a new club created after the liquidation of the original Airdrieonians. Clyde Bank themselves were in financial trouble. For them to just be bought out and replaced by a new club, obviously the fans would not be happy about that, so they created a new club and they competed in the junior leagues for a while, but they have recently entered the new West of Scotland Premier League, so it is actually possible for them to get promotion out of non-league. So this one is probably the most difficult club on the list to manage, as they are in the lowest division, so it'll be a challenge to get them out of the West of Scotland League and then out of the Lowland League and back up to the SPFL. So those are the two non-league clubs which I think would be very interesting to manage. Obviously there's a lot more clubs in non-league Scottish football, so again the link to the database which will have all these clubs in a playable league will be in the description below. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you're new here. Thank you for watching and goodbye.